us what your project idea is, as well as having a budget that you're uploading to us in this letter of intent form so that we can see what the direction is that you're looking to head with your project. Make sure those are in by January 15th. There's going to be a few more of these information sessions along the way. So we do have one in January that's going to be really specific to budgets and helping craft a great budget for your project. Highly recommend that. I'll put dates and some timing in the chat as well for that session. And then also some just open information sessions to answer any questions that you have as you're thinking through those project ideas and starting to develop what this could look like for you. So know that's coming in early January, and we know that this deadline's coming soon for this program. So the program itself is based on two different types of project paths that you can choose. So one is a path of infrastructure, and again, that infrastructure is expanding or enhancing Oregon's ability to be a welcoming destination for all through increased access and inclusion. And the other path is tourism promotion. So tourism promotion, which increases access and inclusion. And that's where I'm really excited today to be able to introduce you to one of my new teammates, Carrie. And actually, Carrie, I don't even know how to pronounce your last name, so I might completely butcher it.
It's okay. It rhymes. It's Behe.
Okay, great. So, so Carrie B, he's here to join us. She's Travel Oregon's destination marketing manager, and we asked her to come and be able to share with you just some insights and some thinking that you can go back and really consider as you're thinking about those ways in which you would undertake a project that involves tourism promotion. And so I'm going to pass the floor to Carrie and let her share some of this insight and knowledge with you.
Thank you, Michelle. Like I said, my last name is pronounced Behe. So Carrie Behe, I'm the destination marketing manager at Travel Oregon. I am fairly new. I'm going to still say that for a little while longer. I started in the summer, and a little bit of background about this role and myself. So starting as the destination marketing manager, it is a new role at Travel Oregon that's really intended to help support marketing various destinations around the state, strategically supporting our DMOs and DMOs, understanding what are the marketing needs within various regions, communities, organizations, and understanding those and finding ways to bubble them up to the statewide level at Travel Oregon and understanding how Travel Oregon can support some of these areas in different and strategic ways. And then conversely, really taking what Travel Oregon is doing at the statewide level from a brand marketing perspective and distilling that down to the regions and the DMOs and helping them understand where our priorities are. Like accessibility, for example, and that will come to life through a lot of the work in this grant program. But that's a very high level synopsis of my role here to support on marketing across all levels. And then just a little bit of background about myself. I am new to tourism. This is my first role in the tourism industry, but I come with over 15 years of marketing experience in the outdoor industry. I've worked for a lot of private brands, retail brands in the Portland, Oregon region in the outdoor industry. So I started my career at Keen Footwear. And then I moved on to Danner and was Leatherman's marketing manager and international marketing manager. And then most recently, I helped stood up a lot of go-to-market work and brand campaign and partnership work at Cotopaxi, which is a Utah-based brand. So a little bit of background about me. I will dive into why we're here today. So in looking at the competitive grants program, there is marketing is a big component to a lot of these projects that you'll be working on and applying for and outlining your work. And so I am here to just help give some guidance, guardrails, and a little bit of insight into my own thoughts of like when I'm going into developing a marketing plan. So some tips and tricks as well. But I took the approach of creating this presentation through the lens of the two different buckets of projects that would be applicable for the grants program. So in developing a strong proposal, if you have an infrastructure project from the past biennium, and you're looking for funding for the marketing component of this, I'm going to take you through some step-by-steps on what we'd be looking for, what I would be looking for from a strong marketing proposal and an understanding of a marketing background for the work that you want this funding to go towards. And then the other side of this, the tourism promotion bucket that Michelle mentioned, wanted to just take you through some of the preferred project types and then take you through a marketing how-to lens with some of those specific buckets of preferred projects. And then just give you an insight into a little bit of additional marketing support that Travel Oregon offers just generally to the industry. So getting into developing a strong proposal overall, like I said, I wanted to focus on the proposal that emphasizes marketing of an infrastructure project that has been funded in the past. But generally, if you are looking to create marketing support for your project, this is how I would make recommendations to develop the outline of your plan. So when generally creating a marketing plan, wanting to start at the very basics of what are you trying to accomplish with this? So outlining very clearly what your goals would be for this marketing project, this marketing proposal. What are the objectives? So what are going to be the high level pillars that are going to stand up the work and achieve the goal that you want to achieve? After you really identify your goals and objectives, what is the strategy or strategies, these action items that you then have to take to achieve that goal and objective? And so really being clear in outlining strategies and the action steps that you need to take to achieve those goals. The next step in this for me, especially when I'm writing a strategic brief or a document to approach a new campaign, a new body of marketing work, I really want to identify and be very clear in understanding who your target audience is with this. And what I mean by this is who is that group of people that you want to reach with your message or your work, and really having a deep understanding of them. I think the more you have a better understanding of who they are, what they think, where they live, their age, their racial demographics, like really wanting to understand this audience and also where are they consuming their media. I put psychographics in here, how they're thinking, how they align themselves with brands or organizations, really having a good idea of who they are, where they are, how old they are, etc., is going to help you really refine your strategy and your approach in being successful with not only reaching this audience, but building a meaningful connection to them. That's something that I always keep in the back of my mind when I'm developing a marketing, and that takes me into the step 4 in this process. So after you've really identified who that audience is, what is the number one most important thing you want them to walk away with? Like we all as consumers or visitors, we are bombarded with thousands and thousands of messages a day. So we're going to be distracted. The average attention span of an adult today is around 7 seconds, might even be a little less since the last time I looked this up. So you have a very small window of reaching and like making an impact and catching that audience member that you're trying to reach. So really being clear and identifying what is the most important thing you want that audience member to take away from the marketing that you're creating, the messaging that you're creating. Once you've identified that, I'm going to skip ahead one step into step 6. What type of assets do you need to create to educate and inspire and move that audience to take action? And that's and outlining what that action is. And it ladders into the takeaway that you want them to walk away with. It ladders into your goals and objectives overall for your marketing plan. What do you want that audience to do? If it's an event, you want them to go to the event. What type of assets do you need to make to get them to be educated? Well, to pause, to be educated, and then inspired to take action. So is this, do you need photos? Do you need video? Do you need an advertising campaign? There's a lot of different marketing levers that you can pull in your marketing plan to catch that target audience member and educate and make them aware and then drive them to take action. So once you've identified the type of assets that you would need, what is your communications and campaign plan? This is what I call a go live marketing plan. So when you've gone live with your marketing promotion, let's say you are trying to make people come to an event? What's the timeline that you need to identify to develop that message and make it live for the consumer? How many times do they need to see the message? What is that campaign period leading up to the action that you want them to take? And then measuring success, establishing metrics and KPIs. And then I will follow up with, along all of the way with this, you're creating a budget outline of like, how much are these things going to cost? So I keep going back to this event creation as an example. How much is it going to cost to rent the space? How much is it going to cost to bring any type of assets, decorations, branding into the space to bring your event to life? What is the promotion element going to cost for public relations, advertising, social media support? Just having a high level understanding of how much these things are going to cost you to bring the campaign to fruition. So outlining those is a really helpful step as well. This is something, apologies, it's a little blurry. If anyone is not familiar with the marketing funnel or consumer journey funnel, I highly recommend that this is something, it's easily, you can just Google it, marketing funnel, consumer journey funnel. This is a really great visual aid to help you kind of go from start to finish in your marketing planning, really wanting to understand the consumer journey of, again, when you identify that target audience, what action do you want them to take? My past background, my action I ultimately wanted someone to take was to become aware of the brand and ultimately get them to purchase one of our products. So at the very top of the marketing funnel, there's different levers and tactics that you can pull to expose your consumer or your visitor, your audience, your target audience, to help them just get exposed to who you are, who your event is. I keep using the event as the example, but raising awareness. This top of the marketing funnel is really that awareness phase that you want to just educate and inform people. And then as you get into the middle of the funnel, this discover consideration section, that's really the section where like you want them to be further educated. You want them to spend more time on your website. You want them to be engaging more with your social media platforms. You just want that you're doing a little bit of a dance with the consumer or the audience member at this point to get them further down the funnel to the conversion aspect of it, or like it's them attending the event, for example. And then the retention, the final part of this, is if that customer has a really great experience, they're more likely to return, stay, make another purchase. You're building that sense of brand loyalty. So I always like to use this as just a guardrail of like at each stage of this funnel, you would use different marketing tactics. So for example, at the top of the funnel, something like a billboard ad, television, radio broadcast, those are more high level touch points of just awareness and exposure of who your brand is, or within the marketing plan, the goal you would like to achieve. And then as we're getting further down the funnel, you might use a different type of tactic like search engine optimization, or you might use social media like retargeting marketing as an example to get them to convert all the way. So switching gears a little bit, so on the preferred tours and promotion projects, so like Michelle had mentioned, we're marketing these preferred projects. There's a whole list of different preferred projects that we have given as an example, and it's by no means just those preferred projects, but I wanted to go through that list with you a little more specifically and just talk through some additional points to consider if your project does fall into one of these buckets. So just as a reminder, some of these projects can include content development, so the creation of photography and video assets to support your project, a familiarization tour to focus on expanding relationships with underserved populations, the promotion of guided experiences or signature events that are undertaken in partnership with underserved communities. This can be a project that's focused on print or broadcast advertising. It can be a project focused on digital advertising, including social media and or search engine optimization. And it can also be a project that is focused on influencer or ambassador marketing. And again, this isn't the end all be all list. These are just some initial guide rails and thought starters for marketing focused projects. Quick water pause. So what I'm going to do is go through each of these and just give a few like helpful reminders as you are writing the applications and giving a detailed outline of the projects. If the project was focused on content development, if you need budget to create new photo, video assets, these are the things that you should consider keeping in mind when you're writing the project outline of like, who is the audience for these new assets? What types of social media or digital platforms does this audience frequently use and engage with? And that lends itself into like the type of asset that would be needed for those platforms. So the example I give in here is if the audience you're trying to reach is really a heavy TikTok user, you're going to need video and you're going to need a vertical video format. And that's just a very high level guardrail and guidance of knowing that that platform is very video heavy, where somewhere like Facebook, and again, if there's budget constraints, you might be able to get away with using photography only for Facebook as an option because photos and videos are used there. But something like a TikTok or Instagram is more video dominant. So just understanding the audience and where they're spending a lot of their time consuming content is really, really important. And I think in the project, having that level of awareness of where they're spending that time it demonstrates that you have a good idea of how to reach them. And then lastly, understanding like what's the call to action. So what the CTA is the acronym we use in that. What is the thing that you want that person to do once they've seen that video, that content? You want them to go to a website? Do you want them to sign up for a newsletter, RSVP for an event? Just those are the things to keep in mind of like what you want the person to do when they've engaged with your content. For promotion of guided experiences or events, and I've talked about it a little with the example I've brought through on my marketing plan thread. Again, I think the cornerstone of all these different marketing levers is really having a very solid understanding of who your target audience is, who you're trying to reach, and how do they engage with various forms of media. So social media, like I mentioned, but also print and broadcast, radio, how are they engaging with local media as well, depending on how local this project is? And then how much budget do you need to reach this audience? And then again, outlining your call to action. What do you want this audience member to do when they have seen this? With print and broadcast advertising, I mean, again, there's some similar threads here of understanding your target audience. That's the case with everything here. With print and broadcasting, more traditional forms of media, understanding what publications they are reading and spending time with, or looking at or watching. So television stations, radio stations, really understanding what types of media they're consuming from a traditional side of things is very important. And then the big thing in here is understanding the frequency of the advertisement. If this is a brand new initiative that you are trying to market, it's a brand new event, it's never been done before, you need to consider that you should increase the frequency of the advertising message to just ensure that your audience is seeing it and seeing it repetitively. And that usually lends itself into if you have an increased frequency, you need to allocate more budget for that type of advertising. Like one print ad will reach a certain audience members, but they might not retain it. So you need to hit them over the head with a lot of these messaging. Again, it goes back to our attention span is very limited. So the more you reach an audience and with that same message, the more they're going to build that awareness. Then they're going to consider your event, for example. And then if you keep showing that message, and reaching out to them and connecting with them, there is that likelihood that you're going to get them further down the marketing funnel to that conversion or the action that you want them to take. I'll pause. I see a question for events. Do they need to be based in Oregon or can they be based out of state markets to inspire travel to Oregon? This might be a question for Michelle.
I see your question in there, Morgan, and I think you could go either way. It depends on what event it is and what you are trying to achieve in the end. So I would say maybe we do a connection over email to start or set up a call to figure out more details on what you're trying to do. So thanks, Morgan.
For digital advertising, social media, and SEO, again, I know I'm being very repetitive when I say understanding your audience, but it will, and especially with social media, there's the opportunity to get really hyper targeted on where are they based, their age, their gender, their activities and hobbies. So this is where you can start targeting on psychographics as well, of understanding if you want to reach a community of mountain bikers, you're able to do that really well on social media because you can get very hyper targeted into people's like what they like, how they follow other things on social media. So keeping that in mind and having an understanding of what they like to do really comes it's very helpful on social media advertising. And then understanding how to engage with the audience on social media. So being able to respond to comments or questions, interacting with your audience on social media is it's very important, and having an understanding of how to do that. And then a search engine optimization, demonstrating an understanding of being able to use relevant keywords. So if this is a project where you are looking to do an SEO marketing plan, having an understanding of what are the key search terms your audience is using, if they're trying to look up a particular trail or a particular event, what are those terms they might be putting into a search engine that you can bid on to help get your project to the top of the list, and just demonstrating an understanding of SEO generally. And then outlining your call to action again with all of these. What action do you want the audience member to take once they've seen your message? When working with influencers and ambassador marketing, this was something I did ask to add into the grant guidelines. I think it's really helpful. Influencer marketing is a huge marketing lever to pull, I would say, in today's day and age with how you're reaching an audience. So many people are on social media. It is a great way to align yourself with a target audience that you may not have access to, that somebody that is considered an influencer through social media might be able to. So influencer marketing is highly recommended. It's hugely successful. That said, there's a lot of different layers and nuances with it. And so again, keeping in mind some like high level considerations when you're outlining an influencer marketing plan, things that I'd be looking for in terms of like demonstrated level of awareness working with an influencer is the target audience. Again, this is our reoccurring theme throughout all. Does the audience that you're trying to reach align with the influencers? It's really, really important of like understanding, and it takes time of like looking through an influencer's account. What is their niche? What are they promoting out to their followers? Does that align with messages that you're trying to put out as well? Does their brand ethos and who they are align with your own goals and objectives and mission with your project or your organization? There's always a level of authenticity to really have like a good understanding of. There's so many influencers out there that you have the opportunity to work with, and really being mindful of again their brand ethos and what they stand for, and that level of authenticity that aligns with that, to make sure that you feel good about that going into a partnership with an influencer. And aligning your objectives and being clear on what your objective is when you are partnering with an influencer. Are you trying to gain brand exposure with your project and or organization? Do you have a specific campaign that you want to launch with them? Some background examples I'll give is when I worked at Cotopaxi, we did a collaboration with Hoka where we co-designed shoes, hiking boots, and a pack. And then we brought in an influencer, Patagonia, to really have her come in and help amplify that message. It was a very specific campaign and a specific product that we wanted her to help us promote. And we wanted to reach her audience through this partnership. And so that was the very specific campaign related objective of why we partnered with Patty. Aim to build long-term relationships with influencers. And I would say getting on the ground early with an influencer, and budget comes into play with this as well. They may have a small following of a few thousand people or less. I would call that a micro influencer. Partnering with a micro influencer and then starting to build a long-term relationship with them as they grow over time and who knows, 2, 3, 5 years down the road, they might have 10,000 followers or 100,000 followers. You're building that connection at the ground level and building a long-term relationship with them that you can go back to that relationship time and time again to help get your message out there. And then developing a plan, budget for compensation for an influencer. Again, outlining the call to action that you want that influencer to promote. And then my biggest tip in this is always create a contract with your influencer, really being clear and establishing what type of content you want, how much content, what's the timeline for creating the content, and then the timeline for that content to go live on the social media channel. I'm pausing for a question from Dan. Grant eligible for local DMOs? Yes, right, Michelle? And then the Main Street project, that would be eligible, correct?
Yes, that'd be correct. And Dan, if you get your nonprofit status as a Main Street, then you would be an eligible applicant. So both your DMO would be eligible to apply, and if you have nonprofit status as Main Street, you'd be eligible as well.
And one thing I didn't put in here, and Dan, I'm so glad you brought this up. So I'm kind of on the fly going off your question on Main Street. This has been an idea that's been talked about a little bit at Travel Oregon, but it's got me thinking of like, and it wasn't included in the grant guidelines, but I think it would be an important one for us to consider of like visual merchandising, window displays, that's retail marketing. So understanding Main Street projects. There is a component to that physical marketing, visual merchandising of stores and display windows. I think those types of projects would be, they certainly fall into the marketing realm as well. We did choose to focus on some of the more traditional marketing bullets and digital marketing bullets, but visual merchandising and retail marketing, absolutely. So I'm getting towards the end of my slides, and then I will definitely, we have plenty of time for questions and conversation. If you want to dive into more specific examples, I'm really happy to talk through those. I wanted to just remind everyone from a Travel Oregon marketing support opportunity, we offer toolkits. We offer a different array of marketing programs to help support organizations. So we have a digital marketing boost program. We have small business marketing resources, co-op marketing opportunities, style guides. And then we also have advertising opportunities that are available to our DMOs, tourism related businesses. So this includes opportunities for traditional media, so print and broadcast with K2 and the Oregonian. We have social media and content marketing opportunities through the help and support of our social media agency, Sparkloff, and then audience targeting with Maiden Media and Expedia as well. So we'll make sure that this deck gets shared out with everyone. So the direct links for those two, they're on our industry site at Travel Oregon. And then, of course, I am happy to help with additional questions. If you have additional questions that you want to take offline, or if you want to set up time to have a conversation with me as you are writing the grant application and your letter of intent, I'm happy to set aside some time and jump on phone calls with you if you have any questions about specific things that you think you may want some additional help with. I'm happy to offer that. So that wraps up my journey on the PowerPoint slides. Again, this is where I would love to open it up for any questions or conversations. Any additional input, Michelle, you want to add? Anything I may have missed that we can talk through? Like the retail display, I love that question came up because I think that's a great point to talk through.
Well, we can maybe start with the question I saw, Linda, you had posed in the chat, just how much funding will come through marketing. So we have just over $5 million is dedicated to funding in this grant cycle, and we are putting aside $1 million to go to those marketing projects. So we do want to see marketing projects a piece of this puzzle. And so that's where there is that dedicated resource to go towards marketing and promotion type projects. And how we decide which programs get funded. So there is an evaluation process that takes place where we have a review committee that reads through applications and scores them based on the rubric, which there's actually a copy of that rubric that's shared at the end of those grant guidelines to help inform how some of these decisions will be made. Hopefully that helps. I know, Carrie, thank you for presenting. And this is the first time we've done a format like this this is actually the first time where we've done as many webinars as we have. And so I'm jumping in actually this week to fill in for Deb Vaughn, who's kind of leading this competitive grant program in this process. She just wasn't able to attend today. And so I love how we're trying to kind of bring in other experts to be able to provide some additional insight for folks. I saw the question that Morgan had posed earlier about like the detail that Carrie's providing, which I think is amazing detail but just so those on this call know, we understand you're at different places along the spectrum of working in marketing. And so today's session is really just to give you some insights and into how Carrie is thinking, how Travel Oregon also approaches some of our thinking around marketing. And so that helps provide a guide or a starting point for most of you. And so really that's where a lot of this information, what the intention was around it. And I think we can kind of like refine um, and it's hard for us to be speaking on a statewide level, right? So there's a statewide audience of a spectrum of folks of, the smallest of nonprofits to bigger, larger organizations. And so thanks for, again, listening on the presentation. Do not feel like, oh my gosh, if I can't do all of the steps that Carrie presented, I shouldn't even go down this path. So I did want to make people aware of that.
Yes, I would love to follow up on that and to Morgan's question in here as because I did miss it while I was um, and then April's comment about psychographics. Yes, so I can answer some of those things. These are suggested level of details. I want to be really clear on that. By no means do you have to fill out and answer every single bullet point that I put in here. These are guardrails only. And it's more, I'm sharing this knowledge of like, this is how I go about building a marketing plan. It can be very complex. I'm looking for just like a very high level demonstrated understanding of like what would go into a marketing plan. And at the most basic level, it's an understanding of who your audience is, how you want to reach them, what's the big thing you want them to take away, and then how much is it going to cost you to do that? And I think the specific example I can give in maybe a comparison is if you were to go in and outline your marketing budget and give a little bit of detail of like, I'm making the numbers up completely, but let's say you have $10,000 you want to allocate to marketing, maybe take it a step further and say, we're going to spend 3,000 of it on social media influencers. We're going to spend 5,000 of it, just breaking it down a little bit further. And that does not have to be exact or confirmed. It just gives us an understanding as reviewers that you have an awareness and understanding of where to spend that money based off of where your audience that you're trying to reach is spending their time. And a lot of it is social media. We all scroll daily. So that is going to be a really important tool to consider in your marketing planning, to invest in social media content, advertising opportunities through social media. So I know I'm rambling a little bit, I apologize, but that is you do not have to be as detailed as the bullet points I provided. They're just guardrails only and consideration points.
Thanks, Carrie, for expanding on that. I would just I would pose a question back to you because I know a lot of the intentionality around the program is increasing access and inclusion. And I know Travel Oregon has gone down this path recently of doing a little bit more advertising and Spanish language advertising. So can you talk just a little bit about like how we have looked into determining like how we advertise, who our audience is, and some of the choices that we've made?
I will try my best
I know you're
to
new in the space, so
you know,
that's where, yeah. So I don't know how deep you've gotten into those conversations.
unfortunately, not very deep, but just there's a lot of data that we're able to pull to help us again understand who that audience is, the percentage of our audience that is Spanish language speakers, or having an understanding at the statewide level in Oregon, how many Spanish speakers live in Oregon. And that is data that we can pull from our resident survey. And I think all of that is available on our industry site. But that's a baseline starting point of just understanding how many speak, like for that particular example, how many people in Oregon speak or native speakers or speak it as a second language to consider for, and then knowing that percentage, we're weighting our marketing efforts towards that. So a percentage of our media budget will be allocated to Spanish content in the paid media section.
Great, thanks, Carrie. And I think just for folks on the line, this is also where Carrie mentioned the visitor profile. So Travel Oregon does do a lot of research and data collection. This is also where we try to direct folks to reach out to your regional destination marketing or management organization. So there's 7 of the regional organizations across the state. They also have data that's geared towards your specific region of the state. This is also where we again encourage you to speak with those folks that are working in your local community that are doing the tourism promotion. Because again, knowing who is coming to your area is a good first step. And that also allows you to have these greater conversations of like, hey, we know who's coming. Who else is a good person to maybe bring into our area that we know they might have interest? They just might not know about us yet. Um, see a few more things coming in, maybe in chat.
I wanted to call out the one comment that April had made about psychographics and that segmentation split. So it's looking at like the behavioral traits of a consumer today. And in a way, we have all, and thanks to social media, have made it very easy for marketers to target you down to like the things that you love and you believe in because of the data that you're inputting into social media. So it is down to like the activities that you enjoy, and a lot of stuff, if it's public on social media, it's very easily accessible for third party like advertising targeting. So based off of the things that you're talking about on social media, like for example, I like to snowboard and I follow different accounts on social media that are related to snowboarding. So a snowboarding brand is going to have an easier time of reaching me knowing those are some of the things that I like and enjoy doing. So very activities based, your feelings, your beliefs, your values, and for a marketer to have that understanding of their target audience beyond just the age bracket, the gender, the location, the ethnicity of the target audience, it really rounds out how you can directly reach somebody and cut through the noise of all the different people out there that you may not want to reach with your message based off of having a good understanding of their psychographic profile. Okay, getting down further into some of the questions from Tiffany. Does our nonprofit submit the LOI first, then you send the link to apply for the grant, or do they get submitted in conjunction? Oh, and you answered for her. Thank you. Apologies on that.
That's okay. I think I
Okay.
see Linda's question, which I can answer too, just on the funding and diversity of the funding. So Travel Oregon's a state agency, and so again, it's important to us to ensure that pockets across the state are receiving these funds. So that definitely is a component of the conversation of that review committee is ensuring, again, that we are not, just supporting projects that are based in the Willamette Valley or just supporting things that are happening, in Eastern Oregon. So again, we look first at regional diversity since again we've have tourism regions, so that is a big place for us to have that start of just trying to find again balance so that we're reaching all corners of the state and not one specific area in particular. Okay, I see Carrie, you responded to Linda as well.
Mm, yeah.
One other resource I wanted to call out is there's a conference that's called Travelability. There have been quite a few folks from Travel Oregon that have attended this conference previously. We've had a lot of regional tourism partners that have also attended this conference. And I'm calling it out because, again, as you're looking for more information potentially on demographics or audience, or Carrie touched on influencers and just that impact in that social space. There's a resource document that was shared with those regional destination management and marketing organizations directly from Travelability that outlines different in particular different influencers for
Mm.
folks that have additional needs. And so I do encourage you. It's not something that we were able to broadly share because the folks at Travelability wanted this to kind of funnel down through our regional contacts instead. But I would just encourage you, if you're looking at marketing, and in particular, if you're looking at people with whether it's mobility challenges, perhaps it's something with some um, a disability, basically disability based folks, bringing those into your community in terms of who to market to. Reach out to your regional destination marketing or management organization and ask them about the Travelability playbook. Okay, so that's not something we can share with you directly, unfortunately, but those regional destination management organizations have that information, and it actually provides you with some really great guidance around people that are working in that space and are actively promoting and working as influencers. And it's close, Linda. Travel ability. So I think it might have just been a misspelling.
Is it Travel?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Great question, Morgan. Does Travel Oregon have a plan for accessibility resources for visitors? I feel like Michelle, can I share a little bit about our partnership with Wheel the World? Yeah, I feel like we can. So we are partnering with an organization called Wheel the World. For anyone that might not be familiar with Wheel the World, wheeltheworld.com. You can head to, they're a really incredible organization that is trying to promote accessible travel and really become like the Expedia of accessible travel, so that you can go to their website, understand different destinations, accessibility levels, book a trip at hotels and different venues that are accessible for travelers to come to. And so we are partnering with Wheel the World to do statewide destination verification. So two of our regions have already gone through verification. Visit Central Oregon and the Oregon coast has gone through this as well. So there's different communities in these regions that have identified businesses in their cities and towns that are accessibly friendly. So different hotels, lodging properties, restaurants, etc. And Travel Oregon is going to be funding 21 communities. Will be going through this in the next 6 months. And then we are planning on developing a larger marketing campaign that will be hopefully launching in July. I don't have the exact date on it, but we'll be announcing this statewide partnership with them and really making an announcement that Oregon is going to be the first state that is destination verified, accessibility destination verified with Wheel the World. So essentially providing funding for these communities to get verified for accessibility through Wheel the World. It's really exciting. So we're just in the beginning phases of this partnership right now.
Thanks for sharing, Carrie, and
Mhm.
thanks for your thoughts too back on this, Morgan. I think again through our last couple of cycles of competitive grants, we actually had funded some of this work of accessibility audits through Wheel the World as well. And so again, if that's an avenue or something that you're looking to support for your organization, Wheel the World is definitely doing a lot of great work in that space. And Travel Oregon is, again, just kind of extending our relationship with them to move to a place where when the destination is verified, it provides us some greater ability to market this on a larger scale. And so that's one of the things that's really neat about their program. The other thing is that they actually are working on doing some bookings. And so again, when we can connect with, hey, having stays and having that place where those people are going to be staying a little bit longer in community, it's great.
I don't know if I'm allowed to speak.
Oh, yeah, please.
Yeah, I think just within the wine sector, we've had so much internal conversation about, what does it mean to be accessible, and you can be ADA compliant, but all facets of your business interfacing with consumers. So thinking about, an older visitor or someone who had a leg injury, and the height of the bar and the chairs. And so I know we've been trying to partner with the DMOs in the Willamette Valley, but thinking more broadly of this is really top of mind, and any resources I know would be really appreciated.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Morgan. And I see Tiffany has a question just in here about um, how your nonprofit gets verified. It's through an assessment process. And so really, I mean, I would encourage you, if this is of interest to you, this could be something where you could reach out directly to Wheel the World, because this is the work that they do. So they come in and they assess your community, they do assessments across your communities. So that is an avenue for you to reach out directly with them. And that would also allow you to find out what some of that cost and what that would look like. The funding path would be eligible through this program, this competitive grant program. The other avenue that you have, I'm not sure where you're located, Tiffany, but just is knowing that there are going to be these destination marketing management organizations, so our DMOs, that are going to be doing some of this work across the state, as Carrie mentioned, with entities in their community. So I don't have the final list in front of me of who those DMOs are that are doing that work, but I'm more than welcome if you want to send an email to grants@traveloregon.com to try and figure out again if your DMO is on that list and you can connect directly with them, or reaching out to Wheel the World. And I believe just through their website would be the best connection there.
Yeah, there's a contact tab on that, but that's a great point of like we could maybe help steer the conversation of knowing the communities that are on that list, being able to help because I don't know the exact spot they're in on this phase, but they in January are going to start assessments. So right now they are partnering with that city, that DMO, to understand what are the businesses and organizations within the community that would be applicable to go through this assessment.
I can answer Linda's question. Just
Okay.
are veterans and families, kids considered in the list of underserved populations? I mean, I think that again, we're looking at increasing access for all. And so that means if there's opportunities for folks that are younger populations, of course, recognition for veterans, again, is there something specific around veterans that we're trying to highlight there? But again, we're trying to create access for all. So depending on what your project is, if these are communities of people that you're looking to connect with, that's what we would want to hear and better understand.
Any more questions? We still have a little bit of time left. I would think, yeah, yes with that.
Sorry, I'm just going to grab the mic for families. So, it feels like for us when we're looking at trying to get kids on bikes, feels like there's a lot of programs out there So I keep thinking about it as, maybe I should be focusing more on veterans or people with a variety of disabilities, including mental disabilities. So that's what I'm trying to prioritize is in this list. We can target a lot of different groups. So that's where I'm trying to figure out what your priorities are in that list. So that would be helpful to maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'd say I think Linda, maybe like let's set up a time where you can connect with Deb and talk a little bit deeper about how you're approaching who it is that you want to connect with, and so we can see what the best fit based on who it is that the different audiences and project that you're looking to undertake. Cool. And you can just send an email, Linda, to grants@traveloregon.com, and we can set up a time. Thank you.
And I'll put my email in chat. Again, we'll get the presentation out to you as well, to have that to reference. And again, I just want to remind everyone that list is just guardrails, guidelines. It is not a set in stone, has to be part of your application. They're just meant to be questions and thought starters to demonstrate that you can look at building a holistic marketing plan for the project you're trying to support. So I'm happy again to answer any questions. My email's Carrie B, Carrie with one R, because my mother had to just be different, so not two R's. Carrie B at traveloregon.com. And just I want to say thank you for your time today and allowing me to present and kind of talk through how I approach marketing plan development and audience segmentation and psychographics and demographics and all that fun stuff. So thank you again.
If I can say, make a real quick plug for the @grants email, please do send general questions there as well. And I wanted to say that various members of the team are taking various days off. We do have some kind of coverage every day during the holidays, except the actual holiday, but it can take, be a little bit patient. It may take a couple days for us to get back to you with a response. I just wanted to say that since I know probably a number of you are working your way up to submitting an LOI, which is due on the 15th. And Michelle, any final?
Yeah, I knew I had said that I would share that recording of our general information session. So for folks that might have missed that, I just put that in the chat. So sorry for being slow about that. And then the other two, I wanted to share with you a couple dates. So it's January 6th is our information session that's about our learning session that's about strong budgets. So I'm going to put that link in the chat here for you real quick too. So this is, hold on, let me get it in there. Again, I strongly encourage you to think about this session. So, whoops, it's just the link, no date, but that the second link in there is for a January 6th.
So looking forward to getting going with all of you.
Oh.
A couple of housekeeping items. Please leave your audio on mute until
Believe me, you don't need to hear that. So. If you click that link, it'll automatically play, unfortunately, for that video session. So another one of these coming on January 6th, the focus is on budgets in particular and crafting a successful budget. And I appreciate, Carrie, your reference to the budget and how the budget is so critical in all this work that we're doing, right? It's just ensuring that we know, how much these things are going to cost, especially when you're writing a grant and you're asking for funds. So knowing estimates, getting some estimates from folks, knowing what it is that you're looking to do is all interrelated and so especially important. Well, with that, I would say thank you, Carrie, so much. So appreciative of you coming and sharing this with folks that are interested in this funding program. And thank you to everyone who attended for spending a bit of your time with us today. just hope that if you have questions, feel free, reach out to that grants inbox for the grant portion, reach out to Carrie directly for some marketing insight. We can direct you to Carrie as well if we get some questions where it makes sense to include her in the conversation. So appreciate you all.
Yeah. Thank you again. Have a great holiday season, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.